Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Northern European Esports Masters. We're back for the final round of the Clash of Nations, and we take to none other than the circuit Zandvoort, a trip to the Netherlands for one more final shootout here in this fantastic championship decider between Norway and Germany. Of course, it's been a long road to get here. A lot of hard work has been going into getting to this stage, of course, starting all the way back in May. As you can see, a GT4 championship here on iRacing, 8 nations, 6th round. Of course, here we are for the 6th. 12,500 euros worth of cash prizes. But how do you get to win those cash prizes? Of course, let's take a look at the format as to how it works in order to get yourself onto the big stage of the Clash of Nations. Each nation, of course, we'll get to that in just a second, has their own time trial. The top 2 of each tier, 1 to 10, 20 to 30, etc., all the way down to 50, then get assigned their tiers. That's their tier for the Clash of Nations race, and then they score points based on their finishing positions for the Drivers' Championship, and then the important one, of course, the Nations Championship, based on, the highest point scorers of each of the 8 nations. The highest scoring nation thereby then, of course, wins the Clash of Nations Cup Championship title, whatever you want. There are 8 nations, by the way: Finland, Germany, Iceland, Luxembourg, then, of course, the Netherlands, who will be taking to the home circuit today, Norway, Sweden, and then, of course, the UK, as you can see in the bottom right. So 8 nations, of course, that have all taken and have all been battling their way for the last few months, but most crucially, of course, all vying for that all-important prize money that everyone likes, especially, 2 days until Christmas. On the 23rd, everyone's going to be looking to get some of this beautiful time attack money. Of course, 10,000 in total, 1,250 for each nation. First place in the time trial gets themselves 120 euros just for scoring in the time trial. They haven't even had to compete for the Clash of Nations as of yet. Just by scoring in the time trial, they get themselves a good chunk of change. All the way down to 50th place, that gets themselves 10 euros. So, put a lap time in. You never know. You might get yourself a little bit of pocket money anyway for the NEEM Clash of Nations. There you can see our wonderful calendar as well, starting all the way back in May when we went to the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. We've battled our way through sort of Europe as such. We went to Rutskegen for round 2, then to do the Hockenheim Ring. That was a round I did, which was a lot of fun. Silverstone for round number 4, Nürburgring when I took you back to Germany a month ago, and now, of course, we're here once more for the final round on December the 23rd for round number 6, the deciding round of this amazing championship. A little bit different. We're going to run you through the time attack results of each of the nations. Norway, of course, one of the championship contenders, the big favourite for the championship. We've got Anders Meyer, Roger Christensen, and Eric Roseth, the top 3. As you can see, all of them big contributors to Norway's overall points haul, and all of them participating in each and every single round of the Clash of Nations so far. Then, of course, we've got the rest of the nations. There you can see Germany. We've got Lucas Müller, Dan Muth, and Nicholas Laubich there in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd spot. Of course, all of them in their own respective right, scoring some fairly decent points for their country, and all of them as well participating in a decent number of rounds. 3rd place in the championship, of course, for the UK, Gareth Hiddings, Paddy Faulkner, and Daniel Thomas, 1, 2, and 3. Again, the UK, a little bit of a no man's land for them in terms of points, but holding a very firm 3rd place as it stands, and doing the good old GB proud. We've got Ruud Kerkeper, Yaya Oka, and Yami Oostering for 1, 2, and 3 for the Finnish contingent of the Clash of Nations. As you can see, again, a decent chunk of points going their way, particularly for that top place man. There you can see Paul Williamson, Timon Klaus, and Svan. Oh, I never get this name right, and it is the burden of every time I'm here for the Clash of Nations. We've got Volbrecht in 3rd place, and I'll probably get that corrected eventually at some point over the course of this stream, but I have been given a good job by Timon Klaus, so at least there you go. Volbrecht in 3rd place there, scoring 490 points and participating in 4 of the 6 events here for the Clash of Nations. A few more to go, of course. Luxembourg, we've got Schwartz, Luce, and Neno for the top 3 spots. Again, a decent chunk of points there being scored by the top spot. Sweden, 900 points go the way of Samuel Ward. Philip Ansel and Tobias Bolmark were the ones that were able to put the top times in for this time attack session. Iceland Hamilton, Benedictson, and Magritarson. I can get that one right now as well. Bit of practice. 1, 2, and 3 in the time attack. So slowly but surely getting there. In terms of the pronunciations, again, I'm British, and then again, so is Luke Crane, and we are both equally bad. There you can see the overall standings. As you can see, in terms of fights, it's firmly in the pocket of Norway and Germany. They are over 1,000 points clear of the rest of the field, but even then, Germany are going to have a really tough ask of things if they want to come out on top in the Clash of Nations. Norway have a very strong foothold on that championship, and Germany are going to need to outscore them by at least 154 points if they want to take that 2,500 prize pool for the Clash of Nations. The UK, Finland, fairly close, only separated by about 330 points for the fight for third. Then comes the Netherlands, Luxembourg next door to them in sixth. Sweden and Iceland round off the 8 nations. Unfortunately, a little bit far back for Sweden and Iceland. Maybe we'll be expecting more in any future competitions, which, by the way, keep an eye out for. We are on the final round of the NEEM Clash of Nations, but maybe there is more to come in 2024, so do keep an eye out on all of the Clash of Nations, NEEM socials and such. Here's our situation for today. As I said, we're here at the circuit Zandvoort. Random generated conditions, 40 minutes race length and a mandatory 4-tyre pit stop. Setup is fixed, so no geeks and wizards out there can tweak their setup to exactly their liking, and no fast repair as well. And these beautiful iRacing GT4 machines. So should, in theory, be a lot of fun. We are about to transition ourselves over into the 10-minute qualifying, of which they're probably going to be getting about 3 quick laps or so. So definitely important for you to get in a good lap time. That is not only does it naturally help, but also here at Circuit Zandvoort, you're going to need some good lap times. Track position is going to be important, albeit, I mean, these GT4s are very raceable cars, really, really good at running close to each other, really, really strong cars at racing, but Zandvoort, it's tight, it's twisty, it's finicky, it's fidgety, it is difficult sometimes to get moves done. So you've got to be thinking quite cleverly as to how you get moves done, but best thing you can do, I suppose, is start further up. If you start from pole, you don't really have to overtake anyone in order to win. Here you can see Kim-Andre Bjorklund in the Aston Martin Vantage GT4 machine, representing Norway, of course. You can see in a very stunning livery as he is about to embark on his lap. We're already about halfway through our qualifying session. And Ismaiah setting the time of 1 minute 39.8 to beat. Bjorklund falling, unfortunately, back to 7th, but maybe looking to improve. Let's run on board for a whole lap here of Circuit Zandvoort. Already pretty much through the entire first sector. Now into the very banked turn 3, of course, on the new iRacing scan of Zandvoort. Taking a very high line is Bjorklund, using that camber to rotate the car and maintain that minimum speed. Now we get to the fun bit. The sweepers through the left and up over the crest here at the right, and then we get to turn number 7. Quick flick to the right, but very much a corner in these GT4s. You can see down to 4th gear, trail braking going in just to keep the nose parted on the front. Up to 5th gear before you slam the car through for turn 9. Mind the sausage on the inside and then let the car run out a little bit wide. Turn number 10 is a bit tricky, but perfect and very satisfying when you get right. Nicely done from Bjorklund. Bit of a twitch on the exit into turn 11. Can be a good overtaking opportunity, but can also be a good setup opportunity as well for this run right here between 11 and then that chicane at 12 and 13. Bjorklund looking very, very strong in terms of putting down a good lap. Look for that curb on the left, down to 3rd gear, really heavy braking zone. Then again use the camber on the second part of the chicane just to rotate the car. Careful not to run too wide, because off-tracks will catch you out here at Zandvoort. And then into the penultimate corner, of course, once again, using the slight elevation in terms of angle to rotate the car. And then you get it in bucket loads here at Zandvoort, of course, for that final corner. I believe that banking is just as, if not slightly steeper than the one at Daytona. I think that is something along those lines. As you can see, Anders Meyer once again going quicker, 1:39.6. At the moment, Bjorklund sat a couple of attempts behind that in 6th place overall, but so far looking fairly decent in terms of a good lap time, and that is mightily impressive, of course, considering the fact that he is technically a Tier 3 driver based on his results of the time attack. And of course, you might be wondering, well, how do I tell who's Tier 1, 2, and 3? Well, just look at their numbers. Those that start with a 1 are Tier 1, those that start with a 2 are Tier 2, and those that start with a 3, of course, naturally are going to be in Tier 3. Tier and 4 and 5 have had their race. That was another date, and now we've got Tiers 1, 2, and 3 all combined, all on one grid, and also all able to score on one concurrent point sheet. So Before, a Tier 3 driver was limited by Tier 3, effectively. They could only score the points that Tier 3 allowed them to. Now that's been opened up, so much so that if a Tier 3 wins the overall race, they get the points for winning the overall race. So, before a Tier 3 driver could, come fourth in the overall standings, but only get the points for second place because that's all they finished in Tier 3 as such. But now they're not capped by that. Now they score points for where they finished in the overall, which I think is definitely a good addition. Definitely sort of entices the tiers to intermingle amongst themselves and get involved with each other because there are more points on offer. And especially for the Norwegians and the Germans, they're going to be wanting to absolutely nail each and every single one of those points that they possibly can. So, let's see what they can get themselves up to. Of course, if you are watching along in the YouTube chat, make sure to say hello. My name, of course, is Zach Sweeney. I don't think I've actually introduced myself so far this stream. I haven't. My name is Zach Sweeney. Once again, stepping in for the fabulous Santa Claus himself, aka Luke Crane. He's taken a step away, of course, on this run up to Christmas. Wants to spend some time with his family. I, of course, well, I'm festive, but never going to take up the opportunity or not take up the opportunity to be here for the final round of the Clash of Nations. It has been a privilege. This is my third round, and the only one that I haven't actually done a German race. Of course, I did the Hockenheimring and the Nürburgring. Now we're here for Zandvoort. So it's been a pleasure to talk you through, of course, half the season. And a big thank you to everyone for, of course, having me. Thank you to you guys at home for putting up with my voice for a god-awful hour of your time. But yeah, do come in, do say hello, give me your thoughts, feelings, queries, questions, whatever really tickles your fancy, of course. Wish everyone a Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, whichever you're up to over the course of the next couple of weeks, whatever you're celebrating. And make sure you have a good old time with your family. I, for sure, am very much looking forward to all of the Lynx Africa sets and the socks and all the boxes that I'm going to be getting, as is the joy of being a British male over Christmas, but should be pretty good. Did treat myself to a new sim as well today, just a Christmas present for myself. Make sure you are buying something for yourself as well. You are also important and also deserve a present, and that's also something you can justify to your partner as to a ridiculous expense on the bank statement. Honey, why are we buying £400 worth of sim racing gear? It's a present for myself. Easy peasy. That's how we do it. Self-love, exactly. It's the best way to be. So make sure you're getting yourself some stuff, and maybe compete yourself in some amazing Clash of Nations, whatever it might be in the future, tournaments, and get yourself a nice little bit of change in the back pocket to then shut your partner up by buying them some chocolate. See, it's an investment. Perfect. About a minute left on the qualifying timesheets as it stands. I don't think there is anyone out on circuit. So, of course, as soon as we get the finalised grid order, we'll run you through all of the starting positions. And then for the race, quick reminder of the standings, of course. It's Norway that are vying for that €2,500 prize pool, sat at the top on 2,694 points, about 154 ahead of Germany in second. The UK, Finland and the Netherlands, the top five, Luxembourg, Sweden and Iceland. Unfortunately, only able to score 388 points so far in this season of racing, but should be good. And, of course, we'll update you with the final standings as soon as we can after the race, even if they are only provisional. Chances are it will only probably be Norway. We've got a very strong field of drivers out on circuit at the moment. I mean, just look, we've got Rossef, Meyer, the likes of Hersug, Godestad, Stow and Bjorklund, of course, out on circuit, looking very, very strong. Not to say that Germany haven't got a strong field themselves, but that deficit is going to be hard to close with Norway looking so strong. Of course, with Anders Meyer taking that top step in qualifying, it's going to be a big help for them in pursuing the top spot in the championship. €2,500, of course, go to the country, and then they can sort of dish it out amongst themselves however they see fit. Here is the starting grid, though, for the final round of the NEEM Clash of Nations. Anders Meyer takes pole, nearly 0.2 of a second quicker than Van der Grip in second. Godestad rounds off row 3 with Erik Rossef making it a very good day for Norway inside the top 4. Lucas Hofrichter and Kim-Andre Bjorklund round off row 3 in what should be a very tight competition towards turn number 1. Beyond that, we've got Hersug in 7th, Agastau in 8th, Daniel Muth and Alexander Vuvers in the top 10. Stein Sapp and Paddy Faulkner round off in 11th and 12th, keeping each other company on that run towards turn number 1. Matty Wild, Dustin Bonds behind that, with Toby Ward and Yuka Oya keeping each other company on row 8. Connor Scoodle and Peter Reed in 17th and 18th place. Behind that, we've got Twan Volbricht, Margaret Tarson, the two worst names for me, next to each other on the grid. That is poetic irony. That's probably a word now. Anyway, Henrik Haraldson rounds off the 21st and final spot for the final round of this race. But look at that. Of course, we've got a very strong result for the Netherlands driver out in the top stop, but also you can see a lot of Norwegian flags flying high around the grid and towards the top spots as well. There you can see just an absolute swarm of them. The Norwegians looking to take over and reign supreme in their pursuit for victory. And of course, that Netherlands driver will be looking to will be looking to take a home win, as you would. You know, who doesn't want to take a home win around the home circuit for the final round of a championship? That is literally poetry for them. Getting a couple of people coming in, some Norwegian fans coming in, and also Henry Beats cheering on for Ryan out there. Of course, starting on the front row. The iRacing pace car will lead us around for the formation lap. Tyres and brakes will be very crucial to get warmed up, as if you're not in the right operating window, then you're probably going to be in a little bit of trouble come turn number 1. And the last thing you want is to cause a pile-up where everyone can then see you, laugh at you, and probably hold your head in shame. So don't do that, and just keep it nice and clean. A big abundance of Aston Martins, it must be said. I think the entirety of the top 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there's a Porsche just in the back there. You can see the brake in the Aston Martins, but it seems that Aston Martin have definitely taken a very strong contingent towards the top step of the grid. So definitely a strong choice in terms of how the balance performance has worked out as such. But it will be interesting to see how people battle their way through sort of the twisty and turns of the first sector. Of course, there are 21 cars that are all vying for positions and points and money at the end of the day for Germany, if they are able to sort of close that gap in the championship, albeit only one German car that I can see really inside sort of the first 5 rows of the grid. So it's going to be fairly difficult for them. But Norway just got to keep it clean. It's by no means a done deal. Still possible, potentially, for Germany to gain those points. So they've got to be careful not to get complacent. I think complacency is a big burden. I mean, Norway have got all the reason to be cocky, right? I mean, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars inside the top 10. All of them, 3 of them make up the first sort of 5 spots or so, or 4 spots even. That's an insane statistic. They have all the reason to be cocky, but they shouldn't. They should still treat this race as if it's any other. Try and solidify those points. Try and just keep their nose clean. Try and not take too many risks, of course, winning as such, but it's just so easy for things to go wrong. Disconnects and crashes and accidents and all this, that, and the other. And very quickly, you might well see the scales tip the way of Germany. Of course, that is a very unlikely thing that could happen. I'm just putting it out there as a possibility as such. So any Germans out there, don't get your hopes up too quickly. Just saying, maybe as a Christmas miracle, although there wouldn't be a Christmas miracle for the Norwegians, it would probably be quite drastic. But at least for the Germans, they would definitely be quite happy. The Norwegians, of course, looking to take home a nice chunk of change for the holidays. Got about a third of the formation lap left. Anders Meyer ahead of Van der Grip for the front row before we're underway for the final round of the Northern European Esports Masters Clash of Nations. The battle has taken us all around the globe. As I say, we started all the way back in May for the circuit, the Spa-Francorchamps. West Kogan Motor Centre for round 2, the Hockenheim Ring, Silverstone, the Nürburgring, and now here. It's all led to this very moment on the 23rd of December 2023 in the Netherlands. Maybe Van der Grip can bring it home for a Netherlands victory on home soil, flying the orange colours for the Orange Army in the grandstands. But Anders Meyer for Norway with the pressure of the championship on his shoulders. What can he do as we barrel our way towards turn number 1? It should be a ton of fun. 40 minutes of racing, a mandatory tyre pit stop along the way as well. My name is Zach Sweeney, of course. Welcome in to anyone that's out there in the YouTube chat. Round number 6, the final round of the Clash of Nations. The front row, Anders Meyer and Van de Grip as well alongside. We're waiting for that green flag to wave, and we are underway for one final time. 40 minutes on the clock, and it's immediately side by side for the lead. Anders Meyer trying to assume that inside line going into turn number 1. He's going to do exactly that side by side. As you can see, one of the German cars trying to pick his way into the mix, but it's the Norwegian of Meyer that leads Van de Grip there in the background. You can see Kim-Andre Bjorklund in 6th place, holding firm side by side here as Stahl tries to chuck the move to the inside and find his way to the inside of turn number 3. Is that going to be the beneficial line, though? It's a shorter distance, but the speed you can carry. Just look at Daniel Muth, for example, soars his way up into 10th place. Very nicely done indeed. Stein Sapp as well, trying to emulate that, of course, here on home soil, trying to pick his way through the carnage if he can, but all through the sweepers fairly cleanly now for the entire 21 field of cars that we've got into turn number 7, of course, for the first time. And there you can see 2 of the Dutch drivers going side by side, at least momentarily. So far, so good for a start. A couple of the UK drivers as well going side by side, and Stein Sapp just says, cheers, mate, sails his way by. And then into turn number 10, the fight continues for 14th. Sapp forced to concede in the end. Bit of carnage and a bit of turmoil, in fact, in the lower positions, but here we can see the fight at the front. It's Meyer from Grip, Rosef, Godestad and Hofrichter, the top 5. Of course, Hofrichter trying to make a good start and mix it up with the Norwegians, but so far so good for the likes of Godestad, Rosef and Meyer, of course. Nicely done. And to round off the penultimate corner, of course, of the first lap, we'll then start lap number 2. 38 minutes left on the clock. Still plenty of action, of course, as to be expected. Ward, Oyer, Reed, Margaret Tarson, all at the back end of the field. Of course, assuming the rear end of it. No changes into turn number 1, apart from potentially a fight a little bit further back. Paddy Faulkner under pressure from Scoodle. The 109, I think, he's actually going to be able to find his way past going in. Paddy Faulkner, unfortunately, demoted to 14th place. Just taking a look at the timing tower. Into turn number 3 once again. And all of them assuming that high line. Not really anyone trying to go for the short route. I mean, Paddy Faulkner is sort of half and half. And I think if you're going to go for one, you should go for one or the other, surely. Not sort of half and half. The shorter route on the inside can work, maybe if you're just going to try and send the move in and, you know, and take the position and then park it so they can't use the outside as a good run. But I don't know, just take the middle of the circuit. It just seems a little bit awkward for no reason and not really going to be able to get best of both worlds, as you might be able to assume that could happen. We're on board, of course, with Van der Grijp in the 105 machine. Again, I do apologise for any mispronunciations because, as I said, I'm English, and that is done deal. That's my excuse, essentially. Have been getting better, slowly but surely, over the course of the season. Anders Meyer, though, firmly looking in his mirrors in terms of stopping the Dutch driver take the victory. But plenty of opportunities for mistakes, more importantly as well. Of course, Zandvoort, a very punishing circuit. You've got gravel traps either side pretty much all the way around, and definitely isn't a lenient circuit at all. If you make a mistake, you'll know about it very, very quickly. So, difficult circuit to drive, even more difficult to overtake. Maybe an opportunity into turn number 1, but it's deceivingly quick, I think, because of the camber on the inside. You can carry quite a decent chunk of speed going in, so much so that it's not as heavy of a braking zone as it, you know, might not necessarily should be to be a good overtaking opportunity. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you definitely can send some move. I suppose in these GT4s you can, because obviously they've got less powerful brakes than, you know, GT3s or F1 cars or whatever. So maybe it is, you know, quite a heavy braking zone for them, but still relative to this car, they can still carry some decent speed going through. Hofrichter, they can see in 5th place, trying to catch up to Norway, but with each passing lap and with each Norwegian driver inside the top 10, it seems less and less likely that Germany will be able to take that top step despite their best efforts and despite 2 home races over the course of this season. There might not be enough, but I will not speak too soon as to, not commentators curse them, because of course that doesn't exist, but just to keep their morale up and hope that maybe something can change, just to give us a glimmer of hope in terms of a championship battle to be on the horizon. Maya able to pull nearly over a second gap ahead of Van der Grijp, who is now ever so slightly falling behind, but there's a send, beautifully done from Rosef, and that is going to send Grijp wide, potentially knock him off the podium as well. There's Godestad send his move, high line for the orange Aston Martin. Hofrichter picks his way past as well. One small mistake for the Dutch driver, and he goes from second down to fifth, and that is the last thing the 105 machine is going to want. Into turn of one, could we see any changes? No. Anders Meyer setting the fastest lap, of course, a 1:39.8, but huge news for Ryan van der Grijp, as he was in pursuit of that lead, of course, and then ended up losing 3 places in the span of 2 corners. I mean, Rosef went for an audacious send to the inside. Godestad and Hofrichter just said, all right, my turn as well then, and did exactly that, just picked their way through, exactly what you need. Meanwhile, of course, it has allowed Anders Meyer to pull out about a 1.5 second lead. So, of course, very clean start from everyone involved. We've got reports of no crashes so far in this race. No one spinning, no one going into the side of each other. Everyone just keeping it cautious, which is good. We don't want to end the season on a disappointing note, and everyone doing a really good job of just staying out of trouble, despite the fact that we see a couple of mistakes potentially along the way, or 21 cars around Zandvoort that are all vying for position. The tensions are high, the pressure is high, but all in all, everyone's done a fairly good job. Also hoping that no one started their Christmas drink early and then taken to the field. That would not be great, but thankfully no one hasn't. That is always a good start. Maybe we need a mandatory breathalyzer test before each sim race, or is that maybe taking it a little bit too far? Probably is. There you can see the most positions gained, the biggest gainers, and in the cleanest way as well. 4 places gained for Dustin Bonds and Connor Scudel, with Volbrecht on home soil up 3. Rosef up 2, now into second place. Dan Muth, Lucas Hofrichter, and Alexander Vuvers. There you can see both up 1 place apiece at the back end. So some decent gainers, showcasing that Zandvoort definitely is an overtaking circuit if you open the door for it to be. If you make the most of those opportunities. Again, a bad tradesman blames their tools, and I would argue that a circuit is a tool that a driver can use, something they can exploit, it's something they can get better at using in order to better their results. And if you say that a circuit has no overtaking opportunities, then maybe you need to try harder, maybe you need to search for those opportunities, you need to find a way, because you can't just go through the whole race saying, oh well, there's no overtaking opportunities, I'm just going to settle for second. Don't do that. It's a race. It's a championship. There's money on the line. And, there will be spaces. There will be mistakes that happen. Positions can still be gained, especially over the course of the next 32 minutes and 10 seconds of racing, albeit Anders Meyer taking a very firm lead, and Norway as well. All of the podium, which would be a perfect way for them to end the season, and to be fair, in fairly dominant fashion. Looking very, very strong. And what we're going to do is we're just going to cut our way back in time a little bit. Just take a quick look as to, of course, what happened to the Dutch driver. It was a very, very aggressive move that saw the Dutch driver tumble down a little bit. You can see fairly clean. There's Rosef in the background searching for that gap. Not really a braking zone to score. I don't even think it was intentional. More than anything, it was just that Grijp was sent wide. Godestad said thank you, and then by that point Grijp didn't have the grip in order to bring it back down to the low level. Hofrichter then took the lower line and just said, all right, thank you, finds his way through. I really don't think that was an intentional move at all. And then, of course, immediately we saw, I think, a move a little bit further back. This is Stow on Bonds a little bit further back. This is the fight for 10th. Going into turn number 1, so a nice move there for sure from the Norwegian driver of Stow. Looking very, very good indeed. Back to the live action, of course, and you can see Stow and Bond still very, very close in that fight for 10th place. But as I said, I don't really think that move was very intentional at all. It just seemed like a small mistake from Rosef that forced him to sort of send the move to the inside or crash into the back of Grijp, who was then on the same wavelength and said, you know what, yeah, I choose life as well. We've got a fight here. Of course, between Muth and Hersug. This is for 7th place, not a million miles away from Bjorklund as well to get themselves onto the back of the top 6, but they've also got Alexander Voivers behind as well. So still plenty of pockets of battles, don't forget. A strategical aspect to take into consideration over the course of the next half an hour as well. So pit windows open, and they do have to take a 4-tyre managed pit stop. So there's not really much that you can do to be clever with it. It's not like you can only take 2 tyres, or you could put a different amount of fuel in, or anything like that. Everyone gets the same pit stop, but I think it's more the timing and the circumstance, and right place, right time, and also sort of around it, the small bits of time, the braking for the pit limit line, activating the pit limiter as late as physically possible, pulling into your pit box, stopping neatly in your pit box. The things that you wouldn't even really give a second for, but can still contribute quite a decent chunk to the overall pit time. And yet, you're not really going to get a big gain if you nail them, but you can get a huge, huge loss if you don't. So it's better to, of course, do them nice and cleanly. Then as you drive out the pit lane, how quickly can you get that limiter off? How quickly can you get yourself back up to racing speed? How quickly can you scrub those tyres in, get them up to a good operating temperature, and then be back on your pace once again after you've broken that rhythm with the pit stop? So no, there's not going to be some crazy strategical developments or anything like that like we'd see with an endurance race, but there is still an element there. There is still some thinking to do, some skill required in terms of that pit lane sequence, pulling yourself out of a 6-car battle to get some clear air and make the most of an undercut, or stay out longer, make the most of your tyres, make the most of your pace while you've got clear air before you come in. Those types of decisions that will need to be made as the race goes on, particularly sort of in this fight for sort of 3rd and 2nd behind Rosseth, Godestad, Hofrichter, Greip, not a million miles away as well, but 3/4 of a second off the fight that was once for the podium for the Dutch driver. Just getting word, of course, just a fun stat. There are 6 Norwegians on the grid, and all of them are inside the top 10. So go Norway, I suppose. And to contrast that, there's 3 Germans that are inside the top 10, with so a significant advantage going the way to Norway as it stands. Of course, 1, 2, and 3 in the standings at the moment, with Meyer, Rosseth, Godestad. Then comes Hofrichter in 4th, Bjorklund, then another Norwegian. So there you go. There's 4 inside the top 6, and then the others scattered out across the rest of the top 10. So very, very impressive stuff from Norway, which, to be fair, is a very underrated nation when it comes to sim racing. Of course, I mean, you look to the top level, the Team Red Lions, the BS competitions and such. I can't, off the top of my head, think really of a big play in terms of a Norwegian driver. Toby Ward, by the way, going around the outside of the Mercedes through turn number 1. Very nice move indeed. Good little battle potentially into then turn number 2, then into 3, inside line once again for the McLaren 570S. Let's see if he's able to hold it. That Mercedes using all of the track and more to shoot his way the long way. That, of course, is the big gainer of Volbrecht, now in 16th place, and continuing to add to his tally of overtakes. I think up to 3 so far gained. So, of course, the Dutch driver doing a very good job at putting on a good show on home soil here today. Still 26 minutes, approaching that halfway mark, of course, in a few moments' time, and then we'll be counting down towards the end of the race, walking out of the woods, if you like. Let's see what Godestad can do, if anything, going into turn number 1, potentially under pressure from Hofrichter in the near future, but I think everyone's just spaced out nicely. As such, they're all very, very close on pace. But unless one of them makes a mistake that forces that gap to close, I can't see many battles happening unless there is, a big gain from Hofrichter through one corner or whatever. They all seem close enough that it is, as I say, just plateaued at a stalemate. No one can close, no one can gain. Side by side there, Hasu trying to move his way past Muth for 7th, but the Aston Martin taking that inside line on the inside of turn number 3, not really going to work too well for him. Sandwiched between the 2 German drivers as well, of Alex Voivers and Dan Muth, either side of him. So Norway sandwich with some good old German bread. Wonder how that would taste. Probably, I don't know. I don't really want to find out. I'd rather not eat Hasug, if I'm honest. And I'm sure Muth and Voivers would make much better sim races than they would bread. But either way, Godestad is trying to put some pressure on Rosev, but of course, in a bit of a pickle himself because he's looking forward to attack, backwards to defend. And does he really want to attack Rosef anyway? I mean, of course, he's thinking about the Drivers' Championship, but there's no money dealt out there, to the best of my knowledge. So, not really much that he can do in that regard. Maybe just an extra step on the podium. Has he really got an incentive to jeopardise Norway in any way? I mean, fair enough. Norway looked very strong in their championship lead, so maybe it's worth the risk for Godestad to go for that second place. Got to think for yourself after all. Connor Skudel through turn number 3, using the high line, over the curb, over the grass, just able to keep hold of it for now. Does it spark a move behind, though, from that Porsche, I believe, of Paddy Faulkner? He is closing the gap, but a small mistake indeed from Skudel. Thankfully able to keep at the barriers, but a little bit of dust and debris kicked up onto his tyres, maybe a little bit overheated as well for the next couple of corners that you do have to keep an eye on. Back to live action though, Anders Meyer lead the way, now of course by 2.9 seconds ahead of Roseth, and just proving how good of a driver that Anders Meyer is. He's always been towards the front end of these Clash of Nations races, as, oh goodness me, home hero Twan Volbrecht finds his way into the barrier. His front bumper manages to magic its way back onto the front end of his car, but probably with significant damage to both the car and, of course, to the ego of Volbrecht in that Mercedes AMG GT4 machine, which is a shame because his progress was staggering. Very, very good stuff, it must be said, from Volbrecht, who is now 21st and last. Of course, no fast repair for these guys, so he's going to have to take the full brunt of that damage repair and probably not really be anywhere for the rest of this race, which is a shame. As I say, he was gaining some good places, and Night Phantom, unfortunately, in the YouTube chat, might be thoroughly disappointed as to the progress of the home hero. Lucas Hofrichter for Germany. There you can see in 4th place. If he can maybe find his way into contention for a podium, it won't be enough to see Germany, of course, ahead of Norway in the Clash of Nations, but a nice way for Hofrichter to sort of split up the Norwegian dominance out in front and stop them from claiming all of the 3 steps on the podium. But it's a long way to go about doing that. It's going to be a very difficult road to do that, especially when Anders Meyer is setting even quicker lap times of 39.7. Now goes the way of the 108 machine, which is incredibly fast, and just showcasing his talent around such a difficult driver's circuit. Really is Zandvoort. See Hofrichter taking a slightly different line compared to the 2 ahead. Decides to sort of pitch the car slightly earlier in the corner, maybe to aim for a sort of a slightly straighter exit, but I think still using that outside banking works a lot better because, yeah, you can point the car in a straight line and accelerate, but you're not exactly slowing down through the banking much. The track, of course, is doing a lot of the rotation for you, and therefore you can keep the foot planted and still have a good exit even if you're still turning. So maybe Hofrichter needs to try something a little bit different. Gets very close through the infield section of 9 and 10. Then into 11, you can see is slightly wider going in. Takes a nice later apex and a much better exit, initially anyway, before Godestad puts the power down and extends the gap by a couple of car lengths nicely by just utilising the traction. There you can see a quick reminder of the standings, by the way. Norway leading, 154 points clear of Germany, then the UK, Finland, the Netherlands, Luxembourg just behind, and then Sweden and Iceland, unfortunately quite lonely in that fight for 7th and 8th place. But that's how things stand as it's coming into today. We'll of course update the final standings, but realistically it's going to be Norway that wins it, isn't it? With their dominance and just the fact that I don't think Germany are really able to close 154 points unless the entire Norwegian contingent of this race find themselves out of it in the next 21 minutes, which I find to be fairly unlikely, unfortunately, and I am quite an optimist. So even then, as I say, I'm a glass half full kind of guy, but I don't think I can see many ways that Germany unfortunately can win this. Albeit, hopefully, going to be a good battle all the way to the line. We've got Rosef, Godestad, Hofrichter, Greip all battling for 2nd place, and well, I think that's the best they're going to get with Anders Meyer so far ahead. Pit stops should be in the near future as well, so maybe that will things up, maybe spice up this small train that we've got, because as it stands, really ways through for many of these drivers. I mean, they've been nose to tail for the vast majority of this first half of a race, and no one's been able to make many major inroads apart from Rossef, and I don't even think that was an intentional move anyway. I think it was more he just got a little bit too squirrely, a little bit too late on the brakes. Goddestad, though, a bit too eager on the exit, understeers ever so slightly. Could we see a chance here for Hofrichter? No. Definitely allowed the German to close the gap, but the Black Aston Martin unable really to capitalise on the opportunity that was provided in front of him. Maybe the opportunity wasn't opportune enough and didn't slow Goddestad down to a great extent. A little bit wide as well from the Norwegian. That could hamper his progress, but again, not enough. A small hindrance, but nothing more than that. Unless Hofrichter is incredibly brave on the brakes into turn number 1, there shouldn't really be any cause for concern for Goddestad. And there isn't. So, good stuff from Goddestad, of course. A bit of a scruffy lap, but all in all, doing great job to retain that podium place. Now Hofrichter is in the same dilemma that Goddestad is in the form of looking forwards to attack, backwards to defend, because you can bet your bottom dollar that that Dutch driver of Van der Grijp is not going to be waiting around to find a move through. There you can see we're right on board with the Aston Martin Vantage. Very, very close, and just waiting for an opportunity. Maybe for Grijp, he needs to come in early, take that 4-tyre pit stop sooner, make the most of the pace that we know he has, because he proved that in qualifying by getting himself onto the front row. He would maybe benefit from coming in a bit early, but then again, it begs the question, where would he come out? You know, there's no point doing it if he's going to be behind, you know, the likes of Scoodle or Faulkner and have to battle them. That potentially would only slow him down more, so timing is going to be critical, as we still wait for, I think, everyone to make their mandatory pit stop. No one in as of yet. There is Peter Reed in 18th place, going way too deep on the brakes into turn number 1. Rejoins, of course, takes a nice late apex. That's probably the only positive that you can take out of that mistake. Through the final corner. Any changes for these guys? Anyone going to bite the bullet and come in? No, still well into the second half of this race. And firmly walking out of the woods now, who started our trek. Of course, €2,500 on the line for this race between Norway and Germany. So Norway, with each passing minute, each lap that goes by, one step closer to bringing it home. Of course, it's up to them how they decide to dish it out, who gets what. Side by side here, we've got a nice little move, potentially Penny Faulkner, I think, on Connor Scoodle. This is the fight for 12th. In fact, no, it's not. It's Faulkner versus... oh, no, it is. It's Scoodle versus Faulkner, side by side between the pair of them. The Porsche Cayman on the right. Tries to find his way through if he can. Then sends the move the long way round. Bit of a lock-up and the up and under. Very nicely done. Bit of contact on the exit. I think it continues as they twitch and turn their way out. Scoodle retains that 12th place. A flash the headlights from Patrick Faulkner just to say, hang on, mate, what is going on there? Very aggressive, on the limit, and very, very strong driving from both involved. Into turn number 7, we've got 3 Brits fighting for that 12th place. Doing a very good job of it, of course. We've now got 2 Porsches. The GT4s, one of the nicest looking Porsches, it must be said. They're just nice, small, cool cars. I've got no bias. Well, I mean, I do a little bit because it is a car that I won a championship on GT Sport back in the day. Won all but 2 races in it. Of course, back when I was fairly decent at sim racing and were racing people that were sort of just slightly above average. But here, we do not have that. We have the absolute pinnacle of iRacing esports at some points. There is Patrick Faulkner, though, taking to the gravel side by side with Scoodle. Patrick Faulkner, though, gets too eager on the loud pedal, spins the car around, and in doing so loses that fight for 12th place, tumbles his way down to 17th, and costs himself a big chance to do much for the rest of this race. So that puts an end to that battle. For now, into the pit lane though, Ryan van der Grijp, who has got a little bit of a fan club in the YouTube chat. Into the pit lane, of course, the car up onto the jacks. All 4 tyres must be changed. Meanwhile, Meyer, Roseth, Goddestad, Hofrichter and Bjorklund all continue on. So Grijp going for that undercut. Let's see, most importantly, where he comes out off the jacks and back underway again. off the pit limiter, and now it's going to be a case of how quickly can he bring that car up to temperature. There is this fight, by the way, getting very, very busy with a little bit of lap traffic in the mix as well. Goddestad all over the rear end of Rosseth, and Hofrichter all over the rear end of Goddestad. So all of them making swift work of the Aston Martin that was momentarily in their way. No one wants to be stuck behind lap traffic. It's the worst thing in a heated race, because especially when it's this close and there's not really much you can do to grow or close a gap, those moments in lap traffic can be vital. Into the pit lane comes two. Rosseth and Hofrichter take their trip down pit road. Goddestad continues on. In comes Bjorklund as well from the live track into the pit lane. Both of them will be in, up onto the jacks. 4 tyres off, 4 new ones go on. And it's a race against time, but against this very man, Ryan van der Grijp, in 14th. About a 33 second or 37 second, I think, pit stop overall. So van der Grijp hasn't got long, about 12 seconds or so to find his way past before Hofrichter starts trundling his way back towards the end of the pit lane. Is it been a strategical blunder potentially from the Flying Dutchman? There is Grijp. He's going to have the full speed down this pit straight. I think it is going to be quite close, in fact. Is the undercut going to work? Exiting Hofrichter, not really able to gain much on Rosseth. There is van der Grijp having to take the long way round at turn number 1. They're going to exit the pit lane. Both of them nose to tail, potentially immediately into a battle. Hofrichter eyes up the move, but not quite close enough. Unfortunately for Grijp, it's not worked in his favour, albeit still quite close to the top 2 in front. Hofrichter, though, searching for a gap through. Got to be careful not to get a little bit too eager and hamper his run, because let's not forget they still have that fight with Goddestad to be mindful of. They can't battle too hard, because there is still another contender in this battle, still someone they're racing for in that battle for second. Of course, Rosseth is going to want it to be him. He's going to want to be chasing the gap. Hofrichter wants that 3rd place at the very least, so he'll be staying as close as he can to Rosseth in order to get the undercut on Goddestad. A little bit wide, though, from the Norwegian, allows Hofrichter to close the gap. Could we see a battle start to form? Potentially 3-way for what could be, if Goddestad is able to secure that overcut, the fight for the final place on the podium. There is the Norwegian, Jo Vegard Goddestad, with just 12 minutes and 42 seconds left to go. He continues on yet another lap, really stretching this stint thin, maybe waiting for these guys to begin to battle, because he knows that if he does, he's got a clear shot at going for that 2nd place. Right now, if he comes in, he comes out right amongst it. So we'll see. Grijp, very, very close indeed in the slipstream. And the thing is, of course, is that they're all in Aston Martin, so there's not exactly anything he can do. It is purely down to the drivers. There's no changes in the setups, bar I think a couple of things you can change in regards to the brake bias and things, sort of that iRace can allow you to do under a fixed setup. But in the same car, the same setup, the same circuit, same conditions, it physically comes down to the driver. And that is amazing in its own respect, but sort of nullifies the racing that you get in a diverse sort of field with different strengths. You know, maybe the Aston Martin stronger in the corners, but potentially the BMW or the Mercedes or whatever faster in the straight line, and maybe then we could see Hofrichter in a faster car in the straight line make those moves, while then Rosseth is trying to battle through the corners as such. You know, that is the dynamic that you get with a mixed class of cars under different chassis and manufacturers. They all have their own quirks and their characteristics that you can exploit to your own sort of benefit. And as good as a spec series is in order to prove drivability, it does sort of lead to battles like this where it is just nose to tail. Of course, the circuit itself not really helping the fact with it being so tight and twisty and not an abundance of overtaking opportunities, but maybe it could be spiced up with a couple of different cars into the mix. But still, very close. One small mistake could definitely turn the tide of this battle. Maya and Goddestad still continuing on. I think we saw Alexander Voivers into the pit lane. Here's a replay of what happened to Paddy Faulkner. tapped the left-hand side of Scoodle, lit up the rears. Unfortunately found himself the wrong way round. Set the move in, got a bit of a squeeze from the Mercedes, and the car was unsettled. Around it went, to the point that it was unrecoverable, which is a shame. Here's what happened to Toby Ward a little bit of a while ago. Goes way too wide at turn number 1. Thankfully not a huge time loss, but still suboptimal. And he would have liked to avoid that if he can. Still sat 7th as it stands. Not entirely sure in terms of his pit stop situation. Back to this fight, of course, as it stands for 9th place, but still with plenty of people to come into the pit lane to serve their stop. The entirety of the top 8 yet to pit. So, with Meyer and Goddestad, Meyer now in, Goddestad continues on. So still waiting for Muth, Stow, Bonds, Wild, Ward and Faulkner all to come into the pit lane. Meyer is one of them, as I said. So a race against time. Let's see how good of a stint these guys have done. Is it going to be enough to change a 3-second gap? Probably not. But maybe, who knows? With Meyer maybe overshooting his pit box, anything like that could tip the scale back the way of Rosef, maybe even Goddestad, whose pace out in clear air. He's making the most of it. Not quite anything in terms of fast lap or anything as such, but still some decent pace. And of course, more importantly, under no pressure from those around him. He's able to just chill at his own pace, settle into a nice rhythm. Eventually will have to come into the pit lane though. And at that point, maybe he could be in trouble. Paddy Faulkner comes in, a big shake-up of the order just to mix things back to where they sort of should be as such. Where is Meyer? He rejoins about 4.7 seconds, we'll call it, ahead of Roseth. So a big gain in the end for Anders Meyer, who looks even more on course to take victory of the final round and of course bring it home, the Norwegian flag for the Clash of Nations. Will it be an all-Norway podium though is the question, and if it is, what order will it be in? Goddestad, Roseth, Goddestad. Surely he's got to come in soon. I mean, there's 8 minutes left to go of this race. He's yet to pit. Here he comes. Now, start the clock. Look out for that train. Roseth, Hofrichter, Gripe. They are all close. They are all in contention for Goddestad's at 2nd place as it stands. Now this is going to get spicy. He's got to make sure this is an absolutely flawless stop. 4 tyres off, 4 tyres on, back again going. And of course hope he hasn't picked up any sort of small bits of damage that could slow his pit stop down as well. The front's up onto the jacks, then it'll go to the rears, then it'll be underway. Searching for some time will be these 3. They need every 10th of a second that they can muster up. Rosef has been pushing limits, of course, came into the pit lane ahead of Goddestad. Will he exit the pit lane ahead of Goddestad? It's been a couple of laps for them to warm up the tyres. There they are on the pit straight. Where is Goddestad? I think we just saw him drop off the jacks. Pit lane limiter disabled, down towards turn number 1. There is Van der Grijp. Is he going to be able to get himself ahead? Potentially could be quite close between Hofrichter and Goddestad. Potentially could be Goddestad ahead of all 3 of them. Rosef is going to get the move done to the left-hand side. Has Goddestad got the speed in order to hang on to it? No is the answer to that question, and settles in. Big send though to the inside from the German of Lucas Hofrichter. He sends it through, but hasn't got the speed to seal the deal, and now he could be under pressure. The Dutchman of Van der Grijp is going to go for the move. He twitches his way through, took the outside of turn number 3, has the momentum now through the sweepers, side by side for 4th place as Gripe tries to recover from an earlier mistake. Outside line for turn number 7. Has he got the agility? Has he got the speed? The answer to that question is no. Hofrichter keeps 4th. It was a very, very spicy couple of corners thanks to Goddestad's pit stop and the way he settled back into this race. 6 minutes left to go of this championship, and what a way to finalise things. Van der Grijp getting desperate, searching for that inside line, but no way through. Hofrichter holds firm. And now we could start to see the desperation start to creep in. The gaps that aren't really there start to look very, very tempting for some of these drivers. Rosef takes that as an invitation to clear off and take his advantage and run away into the distance as best he can. But Goddestad, Hofrichter, Gripe, they are still in contention, all still fighting for that podium place. Maybe if 2nd is a done deal. Nice racing, great respect, of course, from all 3. Of course, Henry Beats talking about Ryan being goated. But that was not a goated move from Goddestad. It's allowed Lucas Hofrichter to now have a look to the left-hand side, maybe still on cold tyres. Goddestad a little bit scruffy. Small mistake. Hofrichter has the outside line for turn number 1. Has he got the agility? Has he got the speed to go the long way round? The Norwegian sends it in deep, but you can still see the German trying to keep his foot in. Bit of a twitch on the exit. What is Van der Grijp stance in this? Through the sweeper at 2, now into the right at 3. Then the braking zone. Hofrichter is forced on that inside line, but he's going to try and squeeze his way to the outside. Van der Grijp trying to get himself into the mix and push his way through. The outside line for the Norwegian doesn't come to fruition. Lucas Hofrichter takes the podium place away, but here could be the counter-attack, the run from Goddestad, who nips his way back to the left. It's going to be the outside line by the time they reach the next sweeping right-hander at turn number 7. Bit of contact between the pair of them. I think we might well see Goddestad try to commit to it, but not again. Just not unable to go the long way around there. Maybe a move into turn number 10 if the gap opens up, but I don't quite think it's going to. Goddestad might well have to settle for 4th place, and a dream Norwegian 1-2-3 could be coming to a close if Goddestad doesn't think quickly and doesn't find a way to get himself back ahead of Hofrichter. The gap opens up though. He squeezes his way through on the inside. Nicely done from the Norwegian, but a small twitch on the exit might bring an end to that small glimmer of hope, a small chance of a podium place with 4 minutes left to go. Hofrichter keeps that 3rd place. What a move, what a battle, and what a season it's proven itself to be for the Clash of Nations. This is what we've had for the last few months, all the way back in May. It's been non-stop since, around every month, and racing like that, down to the wire. Small mistake from Goddestad, but I think he's still been able to keep his foot planted. This is now where we're starting to see moves be made. Gaps open up. Goddestad squeezing Hofrichter all the way to the right-hand side. The German does not want to give the Norwegian an inch more than he has to. It's the outside line. Goddestad has the advantage, but it's going to be Hofrichter that's later on the brakes. The Dutchman in behind doesn't really have a gap to go the long way round, though. Goddestad keeps his foot in really nicely, but he's going to have the hard work to do now through the outside as they run their way in towards turn number 3. Van der Grijp trying to search for a gap, will ride on board, but the inside line, there's contact, and Van der Grijp might well be able to find his way through. He has the left-hand side on Lucas Hofrichter, who might well see his podium turn into a 5th place. Van der Grijp, has he got the speed in order to keep himself alongside as they run their way through the sweepers? Goddestad retakes that Norwegian 1, 2 and 3 into turn number 7. There's contact, and Van der Grijp set wide, nearly off the circuit. And that's to keep that 5th place and end that counter-attack, as out of fear of seeing his dreams of this race come to an end. Into turn 10, and we've got about two laps, I think, at the line, 3 laps maybe at the line. I think this might be the 3rd to last lap, so the next one will be the penultimate lap, just confirmed. Hofrichter, what a battle this is, and it continues lap after lap after lap. Hofrichter, though, still in pursuit. Through the chicane though, small mistakes starting to creep in like those ones, and that could allow the advantage to swing the way of Goddestad, and it has just been so phenomenally good lap after lap, and this is probably the worst round for me to have come in into this with a sore throat, because these guys are not making it any better, but it is so worth it. And there is Anders Meyer starting the penultimate lap of this race, of this season, and he's just had a practice session out in front. 2 minutes 4 left to go. The master at work. Fastest lap, pole, soon to be the win. And then, of course, the championship win in the form of the Clash of Nations title for his country. No greater honour for an athlete than to represent their flag. And they feel that in full swing on the top of that Aston Martin Vantage GT4 machine. And Asmar, of course, should be very proud of himself, and Norway should be very proud of him. All those Norwegian fans watching along at home on the NEEM YouTube channel. They'll see him through. A lap and a half left to go. Here's this fight, Stein Sapp on the back of Connor Scoodle. This is for 12th place. Let's see what Stein can do. Again, they've only got a couple of laps left themselves, albeit a little bit further back. More opportunities for Stein Sapp to find a way through. But how likely is that going to be? Of course, we have got 2 different cars here, so they can use the strengths of each of them in order to find a way past. Porsche Cayman, very agile, very nippy through the corners, maybe lacking a little bit on the straight line speed, so that's where Stein Sapp is going to have to benefit most, is coming into the corner. and maybe getting a cheap move on the outside if he's able to carry more speed through. The final lap of the race is about to start. Barney the flag man, the strongest right arm in sim racing. Trust me, it is a very, very competitive market. Waving it to signal one final lap of the Circuit Zandvoort. Meyer, Rosseth, Goddestad, all from Norway. All of them on the podium. All of them should be incredibly proud. We've got a small crash a little bit further back. This is Henrik Haraldsson from Iceland. Making a small spin on the exit turn 11, makes contact with the barriers, and an unfortunate way for him to end this race. Final lap and the final few corners for Anders Meyer. What a dominant race for Norway. So they didn't need to be this dominant. They could have gotten away with a bare minimum. But yeah, all 6 of their contingents are inside the top 10. 3 of them on the podium. Alexander Voivers trying to put some pressure on to Bjorklund. In the fight for 8th, defensive goes the 303. We, of course, have to see this man across the line. We couldn't miss it for the world. He's got 1 corner left to go. Anders Meyer took pole position by nearly 0.2 of a second at one of the most technical circuits on the calendar. The run to the line, the checkered flag waves, a flash the headlights, pole, fastest lap, victory in Zandvoort for Anders Meyer, and the Clash of Nations title goes the way of Norway, €2,500, and it's Anders Meyer that brings it home for the Scandinavian country. Rosseth, Goddestad on the podium as well. What a season for them. Insane stuff. As Hofrichter, of course, just behind, narrowly missing out on that podium. Van der Grijp as well, a top 5 on home soil for the Netherlands. Not bad. But Anders Meyer, what a way to round off a season. Did we have a close fight for the lead? No. Anders Meyer, dominant. He didn't care about the show. He didn't care about the spectacle. He just wanted to go out there and show everyone how good he is. A phenomenally quick driver. And as you can see, they all fly in formation to round off the season. All of them 2x2. What a way to commemorate the hard work that has gone into, not only from the driver's side, not only from the esports team side, but the behind the scenes, you know, here on the broadcast, and the organisers of the Northern European Esports Masters Clash of Nations, everything that goes into organising the logistics. I have the easy bit of being sat here and talking over the racing action. It's everyone else around it that has the difficult job of making sure the drivers are happy, which they're not, ever. They're sim racing drivers. Making sure that the time attacks go smoothly, making sure that everyone gets paid on time, that everyone has a smile on their face. And after 24 laps of racing action, it's a Norway 1-2-3 in the most poetic end to this championship. Anders Meyer, Erik Rosseth, Jo Vegard Goddestad take a bow. And Lucas Hofrichter, Ryan van der Grijp, the top 5. Dan Muth in P6 with Husug and Bjorklund in 7th and 8th. Alexander Voivers and Edgar Staal round off the top 10. Very good race for Scandinavia. Dustin Bonds, Connor Skudel, Stein Sapp, Matty Wild and Toby Ward, the top 15. Paddy Faulkner able to recover to 16th after a spin after contact with Connor Skudel. Peter Reed, Margaret Tarson in 17th and 18th. Then comes Houghton and Yuka Oya in 19th and 20th place. And unfortunately, the lonely Twan Volbracht in 21st place, who didn't quite get to the end of the race after a spin, I believe. After good progress, but unfortunately, a small spin. As soon as we can, of course, we'll get you the finalised order of things as they rack up for the Clash of Nations. So, more just a formality than anything, just to see the graphic there. You can see it is going to go the way of Norway. The winners, €2,500 for them to dish out however they please. Not bad on the run up to Christmas. Germany and the UK 2nd and 3rd. No prizes for them from the Clash of Nations. Definitely got some from the time attack though. They have all done a really, really good job. The majority of the prize pool has come from the time attack. But a lot to be proud of course, representing their nation. And there you can see the top 3. How beautiful is that? All of them in the Aston Martin, all of them in the red Norwegian livery. We're going to get more of the countrymen joining as well as they're able to line up on the field. get their picture before they're bombarded by the Brits as well that line up on the grid as well. 2 Porsches, a McLaren, and then of course the Aston Martin on the left. That looks absolutely stunning. All we need now are the Germans to fill the middle. Flash the headlights, of course, and quick reminder. Beautiful, beautiful stuff from those 3 nations. Countless drivers have taken to it. If you have participated in the time trials, well done for getting there. Congratulations on any results that you've had over the course of the season, and of course a big congratulations to Norway for their victory. It's been a sort of a privilege to be able to commentate what originally was only one round of this championship. Turned into half the season in the end. Of course, starting all the way back at Spa, Luke was able to talk you through those. Then, of course, we went to Rijskogen. Then I came in for the Hockenheim Ring. Luke came back for Silverstone, the Nürburgring, and now, of course, Zandvoort. It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you for Luke for giving me the call up, and Tim and Klaus, of course, for putting up with me week in, week out when we do come here. My name, of course, Zach Sweeney. There you can see, you can follow me on the socials, Zach Sweeney 19 on pretty much everything, I think. Instagram, X, whatever. Tickles your fancy, of course. Definitely do give me a follow. You're more than welcome to, whatever. If you have enjoyed yourself, it's been an absolute pleasure to, of course, talk you through each and every single bit of racing action. Hopefully, there is more for 2024. Nothing concrete, nothing in the works as of yet, but do keep an eye out, because if there is going to be anything, get yourself onto the NEEM Portal website, look out on NEEM socials, because there definitely will be stuff to keep an eye out for. More cash, more prizes, more glory on the horizon for the Northern European Esports Masters. The Clash of Nations of 2023 has been impressive. It was Norway that bring home the title. My name has been Zach Sweeney. That's goodbye for now.